All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we are going to journey through the absolutely epic 3.8 billion year story of how we came to be. We're looking at the whole story of the theories of human creation up until now, tracing our origins from the absolute dawn of biological existence, all the way to the modern humans sitting here today. We're going to explore the fossil record, unpack some groundbreaking genetic evidence, and see exactly how our species has continuously adapted to survive on a wildly changing planet.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're hitting 5 key steps: the deep roots of life, tearing up outdated myths, the first upright steps, a crowded human family, and finally, how we are still evolving.
Okay, let's jump right into part 1, the deep roots of life. To really understand our origins, we have to compress some incredibly deep time. I mean, think about it. Earth formed about 4.54 billion years ago. Fast forward a bit and we hit our last universal common ancestor, or LUCA, around 3.8 billion years ago. It's kind of mind-blowing, but every living thing on this planet, including you and me, shares a genetic link to those early chaotic oceans. From there, we get the Cambrian explosion 525 million years ago, where most major animal body plans suddenly appeared, leading all the way up to the massive diversification of mammals 66 million years ago, right after the dinosaurs were wiped out.
Because, life didn't just suddenly pop into existence looking like it does today. It was built up, layer by painstaking layer, through billions of years of complex cellular evolution. We started with microbial mats of coexisting bacteria dominating the early Earth. Eventually, the evolution of photosynthesis pumped oxygen into the atmosphere, which paved the way for more complex, multicellular life. Literally every physical trait we have stands on this ancient, incredibly resilient biological foundation.
Moving into part 2, tearing up outdated myths, it is time to debunk some fake history about our origins.
So, I have to ask you this, because we've all seen it, right? Did humans really evolve directly from chimpanzees in a perfectly straight line? We all know that famous image of the knuckle-walking ape slowly standing up taller and taller until it's a modern human carrying a briefcase. It's on t-shirts, it's in cartoons, but is that actually what the fossil record shows?
Well, experts who actually analyze ancient species are basically telling us to grab that neat single-file drawing and throw it right out the window. When paleoanthropologists found the remains of Australopithecus ramidus, which is a 4.4 million-year-old hominin, it didn't look like a chimpanzee at all. It proved that the ancient ancestors we shared with modern apes were highly unique. Meaning, chimpanzees have been evolving on their very own specialized path for millions of years, exactly like we have.
So here's the actual reality. Our lineage split from the ancestors of chimpanzees millions of years ago. We are cousins. We are not descendants. We absolutely did not evolve from the chimps or gorillas you see hanging out at the zoo today. Biologically and taxonomically speaking, humans are great apes. We just happen to be the only surviving species of our specific upright walking branch on the family tree.
Which brings us to part 3, the first upright steps. Let's see how walking on 2 legs changed absolutely everything. Wind the clock back about 4.5 million years. Genetic evidence and early fossils, like our friend Australopithecus ramidus, show hominins developing crucial bipedal traits. And walking on 2 legs was a monumental shift for us. It freed up our hands, completely changed the shape of our pelvis and spine, and totally altered how we interacted with the world around us. It was the biological spark that set the stage for everything that followed.
And we can clearly trace this amazing progression through the fossil record. Australopithecus took those first, kind of awkward upright steps. Then, by about 3 million years ago, you get Australopithecus afarensis, who is a dedicated upright walker. Give it a bit more time, and roughly 2.4 million years ago, boom, we see the emergence of our own genus. Homo habilis arrives on the scene, boasting a slightly larger brain and the manual dexterity to actually craft early stone tools.
Homo habilis, famously nicknamed Handyman, was a total game-changer. They survived by using strong jaws and these early stone tools to butcher meat and process a way wider variety of foods. They weren't just relying on foraging for fruit up in the trees anymore. By using sharp stone flakes, they could scavenge large animals to get at incredibly nutrient-dense bone marrow and meat. In the wildly fluctuating climates of early Africa, that kind of dietary flexibility was a massive evolutionary advantage. All right, on to part 4, a crowded human family, because the reality of our ancestry is incredibly tangled.
For a long time, conventional wisdom said species evolved one right after the other, kind of like handing off a baton in a relay race. Actually, scratch that, it wasn't a neat relay race at all. The Middle Pliocene was surprisingly crowded. Homo habilis and Homo erectus actually coexisted for about 500,000 years. Imagine that. In places like the Turkana Basin in East Africa, distinct species of early humans were sharing the exact same landscape, trying to survive simultaneously.
And in this crowded world, Homo erectus was a massive trailblazer, laying the groundwork for later species like us. They looked much more human, with long legs and a barrel-shaped chest perfectly designed for long-distance running. They invented complex, teardrop-shaped hand axes. They were the very first hominins to confidently migrate out of Africa, spreading deep into Asia and Europe. Plus, they're closely linked with the controlled use of fire, which, let's be honest, fundamentally changed our diets and social structures forever.
So you can see why human evolution is definitely not a straight line. It's a messy, beautifully interconnected bush. Modern DNA proves that as our ancestors, Homo sapiens, migrated out of Africa, we didn't just replace the archaic humans living in Europe and Asia. We interacted with them. Genetic sequencing of ancient DNA reveals that modern humans carry Neanderthal and Denisovan genes. Our whole history is a story of hybridization and mixing before we became the last one standing.
Which leads us to part 5. We are still evolving. Let's look at what's happening to our biology right now.
Get this, human evolution is still happening, and it's possibly moving faster than ever. Since the dawn of agriculture, our massive cultural shifts haven't paused our biological evolution. They've actually hit the accelerator. Think about it. When we started farming, domesticating animals, and living in huge, dense cities, we radically changed our environments. And when the environment changes, natural selection kicks in, driving genetic adaptations at breakneck speed compared to our old hunter-gatherer days.
Right this very second, human populations are actively adapting to high altitudes, new diseases, and changing diets. For example, the ability to comfortably digest cow's milk as an adult, lactase persistence, only evolved a few thousand years ago alongside cattle farming. Blue eyes, that's a random mutation from roughly 6,500 years ago. In Southeast Asia, populations of sea nomads have actually evolved larger spleens that act as oxygen reservoirs for deep-sea diving. We're even seeing anatomical changes right now, where more and more people are retaining a median artery in their forearm that historically used to disappear before we were even born.
But here's a wild statistic for you. While it's super easy to focus on cool traits like eye color or milk digestion, natural selection actually only strictly targets about 8% of our genome. The vast majority of it, it's subject to genetic drift, which is basically just random fluctuations in our DNA that get passed down entirely by chance. As our populations grow and people have kids at different ages, these subtle, neutral genetic changes just keep accumulating, continually tweaking the human blueprint.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. With our environment, our lifestyles, and our technologies shifting faster than literally ever before, how is the human body going to adapt tomorrow? We are actively altering our climate, heavily modifying our diets, and curing diseases that once acted as massive evolutionary filters. The 3.8 billion year story of our biological creation isn't finished. It's just entering a brand new, highly unpredictable chapter. And you and I are living right in the middle of it. Keep observing, keep questioning, and thanks so much for exploring this epic journey with me today.